Hello, and welcome to Illuminate 2020. My name is Abel Gonzalez, and I work in the product marketing team at Sumo Logic. Just a little bit about myself. I've spent most of my career working at companies that are dedicated to ensure that organizations are delivering the most reliable and cutting-edge applications to their customers and users, and Sumo Logic is no exception. I'm delighted to kick off the observability track by talking about how we can go beyond the three pillars of observability. So let's start now with this wonderful quote by Gartner. And observability is not just about collecting logs, metrics, and traces. If we stop there, if we stop at collection, we really don't achieve observability. We just achieve grabbing a whole lot of data and storing it for a long, long time. The key to achieving this observability is to use those data to establish relationships, uncover how application components can impact each other. And I remember one of my colleagues saying, this would be like saying that we back up data just to have backup, a beautiful library of backups. And when in reality, we back up data so that we can restore our systems in case of a catastrophic failure. And that's the same rationale around observability. It's about how we can use those data to see the correlations and the relationships between all of the entities that are really coming together to deliver those experiences for the customers and being able to observe them, monitor them, troubleshoot them, and diagnose them to be able to keep on delivering that high reliability for our digital applications. So a practical definition of observability, it's one that can be both monitored and debugged. As if you go out and start looking at a lot of blogs and a lot of what people are saying, they equate observability with monitoring. However, when we dig deeper, it's not just about seeing when something goes wrong, but about what is causing it, what areas of the application is impacting it, and most importantly, how can we correct it before it impacts more customers or more areas of your application. So that's why observability is about collecting logs, metrics, and traces, and putting them all together for ourselves to be able to use them all. So how is it different from monitoring? Well, monitoring is about telling you the state of a system by looking at the different parts that have been configured to be monitored. In essence, you're looking at the things that you may realize that something could go wrong, so you put a monitor on it, you start looking at those indicators, and then if the application or if a new release comes out that is not monitored, then you don't have that visibility into your system. So observability goes beyond just monitoring. Observability is about finding the why. So monolithic applications often fail in predictable ways, which is great. So we put in the monitors, we go in there, and it's all happy and go lucky. But in modern applications, sometimes they're too complicated to know all the ways that things can go sideways. So observability allows you to ask the right questions by having all of this information and making sense of it with advanced analytics, machine learning, et cetera, to then be able to bring it all together and give us a broader view with deeper context of your digital application. So now, I love this quote. We replaced our monolith with microservices so that every outage could be more like a murder mystery. Any one of us that has had experience with microservices, does this sound like it could happen to us? I wish I was doing this live so I could count the hands up in the air because it's a great way of looking at things. It's an awesome way of deploying new applications, but managing it, it's becoming even more complex. And guess what? Things are not getting easier. We're delivering more functionality. We're delivering it faster. And the speed at which we need to react and measure and observe the system needs to move at that same pace. So why is observability so hard? Like I already talked about all of these different things that we should be doing and grabbing all the logs and the analytics, but it really requires powerful analytics and more data. When we look at monitoring, it's the what. It's, oh my God, I got an alert. I have my playbook, my driven steps. Maybe who do I need to wake up? Because that second level person is then going to go in and start diagnosing where is the problem happening? What am I going to be looking at? Have I seen this issue before? Is it somewhere that I don't understand? because really the most important part is on the troubleshooting side and that why. This has to be analytics driven. People have a lot of expertise in knowing the system, because you have to really look and interact with a lot of data to be able to then diagnose and then most importantly recover that system when something is happening. And when we look at microservices, back to that murder mystery, is that unfortunately sometimes we're just chasing unknowns. So the more data you have, the more powerful analytics you need, and the more of a unified system that needs to come together, because there are challenges with all of these different things where the thresholds are only telling you a part of the story. If you don't react fast enough, that's increased downtime, longer times to identify because we're sampling, we're not getting that full picture. We're restricted to pre-parsed data. It's only things that have been pre-configured that we can actually analyze. And then problem resolution takes too long. And then the root causes sometimes remain hidden as to why that actually happened, because the system might behave just suddenly differently, and you never really got to that root cause. So what we do at Sumo Logic, we address this with enriched data, which is better ways of ingesting that data, and then powerful analytics on top of it. Because using a unified platform like we have allows us to move down this triangle with ease, and giving you the right information, and most importantly, the right visualization at each step of your journey. We have a unified alerting platform that goes across all of the data that we're collecting. Our real-time dashboards have been improved just in the last few months to give you that additional flexibility as you're troubleshooting and diagnosing, because you're able to then link dashboards to each other, so you can then create your playbooks using dashboards with the real data to make it easier for those people that are interacting and supporting the system to get to that root cause. And then finally, we have advanced machine learning, where one of the new features that we have out is the root cause explorer. That does outlier detection. And that's really important in the land of microservices, because remember, you are looking for the unknown unknowns, and that's really hard to do. So going through and automating this with machine learning and analytics allows us to bubble that information to the top, and we're able to get you to that information a lot faster. So we talked a lot about all the observability, what we need to do, why it's important, and everything that comes together. But how do we go about achieving this? Like I said, just collecting all of these data, putting it into a system, and having all the bells and whistles, we need to have a strategy behind it. So let's dig a little bit deeper on how, with the Sumo Logic tools, you can put it all into practice to achieve observability in your organization. So there are simple steps to achieving observability. First of all, determine your objectives. What is it that you're actually setting out to do? And that's the most important part of this journey, because if you don't know where you're heading, it doesn't matter how amazing your car is and how many horsepower it has and all this, you're still going to get lost because there's no objective. So determining our objectives should be our first step as professionals in implementing or investing in observability in our organization. And then evaluating our existing telemetry. What do we have that's already part of our toolbox, things that we're already collecting, logs, metrics, traces, what's in our toolbox, and then evaluate those against the objectives, and then say, do I need to have new telemetry? Is it something that I really need to make sure that everything is working correctly, to then be able to observe my system and monitoring and make sure that the reliability is always there for our customers. Then we deploy, and then we repeat. And why do we repeat? Because again, we live in this world of fast innovation where things are not staying static. If the system stayed static, then you would not need to rinse and repeat. You would be fine. However, you're deploying new services, you're deploying new capabilities, everything's changing all over the time. So our observability strategy needs to move along with that. And that's what I mentioned before of like how it's getting more complex, it's not getting easy. This is a simple way to make sure that we're always on top of it and doing the right things to make sure that we always have a hand on how well our system is performing and how we're doing things. So when we talk about the objectives, here at Sumo, we call that objectives-driven observability. And it goes a little like a one-click down into how you want to do this objectives setting. So you know where you're heading, and that way that'll make your life a lot easier as you deploy this. And you start by what are your goals and objectives. And we are all in our companies are in business to do a specific thing. If you're an airline, you're there to sell tickets, you're there to delight your customers, you're there to give them the easiest way to do a check-in on their phone, to check their miles. If you're a retailer, you're there to sell your product. It's all about your company objectives and what your digital systems do to really support that. So looking at your service level objectives of, I need to sell tickets and I need to redeem miles and I need to do all of these different things, we start there. And then how do we measure those goals? Well, then we have our service level indicators of how fast is my ticket processing is, how fast am I able to check a person in, if they want to buy up to business class or premium economy, how fast am I able to do that? Am I able to deliver the map in time before they get frustrated? And then all of those service level indicators become part of your observability strategy. And then you ask, well, how can I measure those SLIs with my current data? Well, if I'm just about ticket purchases, like inventory, am I measuring like the inventory services side? Am I measuring the payment gateways? Am I measuring like all of those different things? And then, as I mentioned, do I have enough data to do this? And if the answer is no, then we add more data. Maybe we need more logs. Maybe we need additional database information and metrics or traces. We didn't dive a lot about traces because we're going to be talking in another session that's going to be fantastic. But with traces, we're able to then go and see, well, that request is going through all of these microservices. Do I need to start capturing more of that information and putting it within my entire ecosystem? And that's what objectives-driven observability is. It's monitoring, it's observing, it's diagnosing with a purpose. And that's what we want to do. We want to have purpose when we do all of these projects, because that will make our applications that much more reliable, and in the end, our business that much more profitable. So we have the three takeaways for this session. Number one, remember, monitoring is a subset of observability. Monitoring is about observing what's going on, setting specific monitors to see how a system might interact or start failing, but it does not give you the full picture. You need additional telemetry and a platform that can bring it all together to really achieve that observability. Number two is analytics is essential for troubleshooting. As we mentioned, things are getting more complex. More complexity means that people are going to be ingesting more data, and having more data is it's humanly impossible to sift through everything and be able to do it in a very fast way if we didn't have analytics to really surface things up and allow you to focus on the things that are most important. And most importantly, figure out those unknowns that can be causing your application to not do so well. And then finally, number three is start with your objectives and work from there. Again, we want to have purpose. You want to know that you're monitoring the right things, you're observing the right things, your system is, you have your company's goals in mind as you're implementing all of these things. And that is key to having a successful observability strategy. On that note, I hope that you also enjoy some of the sessions that are coming up where customers are going to be speaking around how they use Sumo Logic to achieve that observability by using logs, by using metrics, by using the new tracing features, and bringing it all together, and how it helped them become more effective in managing the reliability of their application. Again, thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful Illuminate 2020. Thank you.